The entire work's made out of 2 pots of paint this size, you know. And that's something that fascinates me about painting. It fascinates me that if you painted the wall just solidly with that, you know, you might only get a very small area, you know, but that when you approach that material in a slightly different way, possibilities are infinite.
We showed a work of Richard's, which he painted on the walls at the Gallery of Modern Art way back in 1997. And then after we opened the Dean Gallery in 1999, we started thinking, how could we represent Richard in a permanent way? There's a long tradition of artists painting in stairwells in lots of country houses and palaces. And we thought this is the obvious place to choose.
Architecture is a big word, and it implies a kind of abstract thinking about the built world. In this particular building, it's strikingly solid as a piece of architecture with this Doric squareness, and also has these extraordinary, beautiful details. And then it has this history as well, which is something of a melancholic history, really. As I got to know the building, that aspect of it has crept into my thinking. Not necessarily the thinking about the work, but it's something that I've been aware of. I mean, the work that I've made is as much for the people who were here before as the people who may come here in the future. When it comes to making the actual work itself, you know, you begin with something simple. You know, you think, well, I'm going to work from this, and it's going to unfold in this way. And then you hit a complex piece of cornicing or something, or a fold, or a change, or a return. And then these things start to impose themselves on the work. And for me, actually, that's when the work begins. You know, it begins at that place where, in a way, all these things collide.
First of all, they paper up a drawing which has got tiny holes in it that he then chalks, which creates these lines within which he then draws the motif over and over and over again. And all these individual processes are physically and mentally very demanding, take a long time. And within such a complicated space as the stairwell, they took an extra long time.
The work essentially is made of a series of lines, you know, lines which measure out the wall, but they measure it at different scales, the scales in perspective. And what takes place is, instead of a series of lines, you see a series of curves. And that particular dimension was the thing that I chose to play with, to try a little bit to work with something that had the sort of fragility, the possibility to kind of break down that space a little bit, to disturb it. It's hard for me to know how it would be seen, but I like the idea that perhaps some people, even with a work of this scale, might not notice it. And that's not for the sake of being obscure or difficult, not at all. But I'm interested in the act of looking. You know, you may almost glance upon absent-mindedly. You might not even register the fact that it's there. I'm not really wanting the audience to be directed. I think that's the thing.
I mean, it's incredibly subtle despite its scale. You do only chance upon it when you're going up the stairs. I think that's what's exciting about his work, that people will stumble across it and it's as if it's magically appeared. I mean, I think even when we took the scaffolding down, it felt as if it had just always been there. And that's the most amazing thing about his practice, is that he can make things seem as though they should already exist there. And I think that piece really does.